Welcome to episode 67 of the Run to the Hills podcast. This week, we talk to Jamie McDonald, running 5,500 miles across America. It's not actually across America, it's like the bottom
it's
circumference.
Smiley face,
yeah. Raising loads of money for children's hospitals along the way. What a story, Eddie. I really, really enjoyed our chat with Jimmy, and he was nice to us, so yeah, you can come back.
You haven't got over that yet, have you?
Nobody's ever called me electric, put it that way.
He called Gary and I at the end. He went, "You two were electric." Gary was like, "No one's ever called me anything but northern and a bit, well, just
northern
a bit
drawl.
northern."
It's a bit chilly up north today. I've got me marathon
Lovely
club.
blue. It suits you, that duck egg blue, Gary.
Yeah, marathon
got some
club.
nice towels in that colour.
I like it. I like that look. But yeah, the heating's on, but it's not
kicked in.
Yeah, it's not kicked in just yet. So yeah, wrapping up my gilet and my little hat. But yeah, how are you this week, Eddie?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I have had a rough week. Anyone that's ever done a really long distance event or any sort of ultra event knows that the come down's real. The come down is real. Oh, I've just been useless, beyond useless. Can't remember the kids' names, can't remember the dogs' names, get them all confused. You're like, why have I walked into this room? Why have I even walked? I need to sit down, have to keep having naps, have to keep like getting really hungry. And then you go to eat and then you're like, oh no, I'm not really hungry at all. Oh, it's been, and just feeling like you go to do the food shop and it's like an epic event.
Everything's epic when you.
Everything was epic last week and everything just took me so long. And normally, you know, I'm like, go. Let's tick it off the list. Let's get it done. And last week I was like, I can't take anything off the list. This is just useless. But I've sort of come over that. Bryn went to the pharmacy and got me some pretty strong iron, which has pumped me up. He's like, come on, wife, come back to me, wife. I need you back. Gotta do the laundry. Do the laundry. Here's some iron. Come on. So I feel, every day now I start. So that last week I just didn't feel better. Like I honestly was like, Bryn, I think I'm actually got something terminal. I'm not getting any better. So tired. We're trying to watch. What are we trying to watch? Married at First Sight, Australia.
Oh,
I can't. It's a really long. I'm sorry, Gary, but some people will like that sort of. And last week I couldn't get through an episode. I was like, I can't, Bryn, I can't go to bed. But yeah, I turned the corner this weekend and I'm now like, every day I'm like, okay, I start to feel a bit better and I'm able to come back into real life and function as a normal person and have a shower and fold laundry. So I feel so much better this week. So last week I did 0. Strava recorded 0 activity, which is perfect. And I couldn't have done, I don't know how people, I just couldn't have done anything. No. And then I had a few gentle little bits of light movement this week is the aim of the game.
I saw some nice snowy pics of the dogs.
Oh, went skiing at the weekend. Oh, the sweet, sweet sound of skis running down the sheet ice. Come back to me. Beautiful little family ski. That was enough for Eddie. I had to have a nap after that. And I did a little jog with the dogs because they were driving me nuts going, another walk, not another walk. Come on. So I tried a little jog, but really that was a bit early. My quads were just like, Gary, it was like a 7-minute kilometre on a bit of flat. It wasn't this heavy snow, but I was like, wasn't really ready for that. Didn't have the love for that. So I did a bit of my first uphill ski this morning. And again, wasn't really ready for that either, but feels good to move. Just went really slow. But did anyone else know that I have sore pectoral muscles from all the breathing? Do you get goodness. That when you've done a really long distance?
No.
No? Just like,
I don't think I go as deep as you do.
My enormous boobs that I've had to carry for all those miles and now my pecs are really sore. But my lungs are still quite, if I fully inflate, it still feels quite tiring. So my mate who drags me out ski touring is much better skier than me. She was like, she lives opposite like this piece. She's like, the piece did it, so it'll be super easy. and her eyesight is not very good. So we got there and it was just like rubbled. They'd blown like fake snow onto this really steep piece. They raced down this piece. It was so steep. And then they'd like just ground it into these blocks of ice. I was like, well, how are we gonna ski? Anyway, we climbed up it with a few comical moments.
Classic.
And I was like, well, how are we even gonna get, but we've done so much ski touring now together. I'm like, somehow I'll get down this. And it was, so at the end of last season, like do like 4 ups in a training session. And I did 1. I was destroyed halfway up and I had to have so many stops. I had to take half my clothes off because of sweating. I got to the top and she's so used to me. She's like, so Eddie, where we going now? And I was like, oh no, that's it. I'm done.
That's it. We're done.
And then we found fortunately we were like, we came down through the trees and found some nice snow and only had to go on the ice Eiger for the last few turns. But it showed me not only am I still deeply tired, but also I'm really unfit on my skis. But that's okay. That's where we should be. All good. All going in the right direction. Just keeping it super cash, letting the body recover. I don't think I'm going to run again. Might do a few little half-hour dog trots, but I don't want to, Gary, so I'm not going to.
That's good.
It's such a lovely feeling. It's such a lovely feeling when you've been like so committed to a training program to just go, I don't want to, so I'm not going to.
And how's your head? Sometimes after a big race, you get a bit of the old blues. Are you okay?
No, actually, I didn't. I think because, when you're so busy. Oh, I had my birthday. Forgot about that. Had my birthday. Yeah, thanks for the present. The card. Are they being held up somewhere? Held up in
Yes, actually.
So, because I had that, and I was just so happy that it was done. I was like, so happy that it's done. Christmas is coming. So we're moving forwards, but I think it's always good. People love my honesty that it was a really crappy week last week, but feeling better today. Anyway, end of. Let's talk about you. 3 hours, 2 seconds. Anyone else? Hands up if you're listening to this. A little bit disappointed in Gary with those 2 seconds. All
Nobody. Nobody's just.
Let's go from the beginning.
From the beginning.
Valencia, where you're now going to appear on. What's that show called where they always take them around to look at houses and they never buy them? Place to the Sun, where they always take them around to the house. Are you going to be on that show soon? Going,
I would buy a place in Valencia, actually.
Gary wants to buy a place in Valencia.
I would. It was great. But I suppose when you rewind everything, there was a lot of travel admin and people. Anyone who's traveling,
worried about the travel admin, weren't you?
Yeah, and luckily we've dodged it because I think it's ramped up again since we were actually in Valencia. Things have increased again. I was so stressed that we just didn't do the correct bit of paperwork, but everything was fine. Everything I've done over the weekend is by my own decision. Nobody's forced me to do it, so. Anything I've had to pay for because of COVID, then I'll take that. That's fine. But what I would have wished. It was all done through a private company, this PCR test. I would have loved to be able to pay the £50 to the NHS if that was an option, but that was never an option. I don't know how the wheels of government turn.
I think we all know how they turn.
It's beyond me. But I can't. Like I say, it was my choice to go to Valencia. I knew what I was getting into. But it did change like overnight. One night we went for a meal and everything was fine. The next night we went for a meal and we had to show our COVID passes. So even in Valencia, things are changing pretty quick. What was quite novel was getting a stamp in my passport again, which I thought was quite, I enjoyed that.
Oh, but that's not a good thing, is it? Because you're like, you can't stay here for very long. So here's
I don't know. Well, it was only a few days, but a massive queue to get that stamp. But apart from the huge queue, it was quite funny. The little clunk of the little stamp guy. Border Control, that's his name. That's his official name, isn't it?
No, Little Stamp Guy. I think that's his name. I've seen those jobs advertised.
But Valencia. Oh, Eddie, have you ever been?
No. Maybe pass through on my interrailing experience.
It is, I would say.
You fell in love with it a bit, didn't you?
I did. I was proper smitten with Valencia. I'd have to say, as a winter, bit of sun, if you're chasing a PB, Valencia is just it. It's, I can't remember. Sometimes when you do a race, a tarmac race, you think it's flat, and then you revisit and you think, oh my goodness, there's actually a hill there. You don't really. I can't remember a hill at all in Valencia. Anything that was significant. It was quite windy, but it was the flattest of flattest courses.
What was the feat climbed in your Strava?
Oh goodness, I can't remember, but it was not. I cannot remember a hill. But the only thing this is partly what threw why I paced it a little bit wrong was the buildings and all the lovely long boulevards with tree-lined streets, but they were quite narrow, short, and high buildings. And then they threw my GPS off a bit, which the course is 100% accurate, but my GPS wasn't. So yeah, I kind of had a little pacing error on my race. I think, like I said, I paced a perfect 3 hours and 2 seconds marathon, which is it's quite comical actually when I think about it.
Did you? And how did you feel? How did you feel? Because you had such a terrible build up to this race, and then you're obviously like you carried more fitness through than perhaps you thought you did. But I wondered how hard that effort was in relation to London.
Judging by my heart rate, I'd say it was a little bit. I was definitely a bit more effort, but I was really pleased that I could sustain that effort. First few miles, I got into a bad position in the starting pen. This is so not like me. I was so relaxed. I was just standing there in a daydream, and then off we went. And then I saw the flag, one of the paces, and I just thought he was a 3 hour guy. I thought, oh great, I've caught the 3 hour guy up. I'll just stay with him now, or her. And it was a 3.5 hour guy. And I thought, oh, wow, I'm well. Like
shoot. What did you do?
I wasn't happy at all by that. The first 3 miles were quite slow because it was so busy, and that people were moving a lot slower than me. So I was that idiot jumping up and on the curbs and weaving in and out of people. Got past the 3.5 hour guy, and then slowly saw the next flag and thought, there's the 3 hour guy. That was a 3:15 guy, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
That was going to happen, yeah.
So that was the story. But then I got my heart rate up to about 150, 151 beats, and I just chugged along merrily like that. And all of my splits, all my 5K splits, were pretty much exactly the same, apart from the last split when I realised, shit, I've cocked it up a bit here.
You didn't stop. You're using all this language of like, oh, I messed it up. I did this. You didn't at all.
No.
If yourself had said, like this time last week, if they said you're going to get a 3 hour marathon, you're going to run it really well, you're going to come away injury free and healthy, I think you'd have taken that.
Yeah, maybe.
I think you were asking a lot of yourself to go any faster than that with no build up, basically, and quite a bad illness.
Yeah. But I'm not going to, you teased me with my sandbagging. I could have sandbagged even more. I went out on Thursday in England, in the northeast anyway, and we had a heavy snow which covered lots of ice, and I fell over twice, slipped over big time on the ice twice.
Did you have a little bit of snow and a little bit of ice?
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything to anybody. I kept that quiet because I knew I'd get called out on it. And I did. My back was hurting. My groin was hurting, but the race itself.
Why did you go running in it? You donut.
The dog needed to go out, didn't he?
Dog could have had a walk. I mean, all these are.
You know what? I saw these 2 horses playing in the field in the snow, and I just thought, look at those horses. That's fantastic.
Me and Rex. I want to get there. I want to be there.
Then the next thing, I was on my back. Then I stood up and told somebody what I did. Then about 5 meters later, I fell over again straight away. Then I did walk after that.
So that shook you up a bit, but
I didn't. None of that. The COVID or anything manifested during the race. I can't say anything held me back at all. I paced it perfectly. I paced a perfect 3 hours and 2 seconds marathon. It's as simple as that.
And maybe a job opening here, London Marathon. If they're listening,
If there's it's a very niche market.
Say your half-time splits and your full-time splits.
It was 1 hour, 29 minutes and 30 seconds or something. I went through halfway, so I was convinced the course. My watch was measuring things accurately. I was exactly where I needed to be. I felt pretty comfortable. And then when I saw the 20-mile gantry, they had no, you know what it's like, everything was in kilometers, but for some reason they had a 20-mile one, and my watch beeped a good few minutes before we reached the 20 miles. I thought, oh, that's a bit, not too sure what's happening there. But then I did speed up or increase the effort. And I literally, honestly, I can't. I was doing the maths in my head and I thought, I've got it. It's brilliant. It's easy. I've no dramas. And then I just saw the gantry and I was like, yeah, that is a little bit. That's further than 2 minutes of it. And what was really unfortunate, I hope this guy, it didn't ruin his day, but they have this kind of artificial blue mat, and they'd made like a little slope, and it was on a wooden structure, so it was really bouncy as you ran on it. And this guy in front of me, as soon as he put one foot on it, it was almost like a little trampoline, and it launched him, and he just went and he tumbled. And yeah,
Didn't stop there, Gary.
I didn't stop. No. I was looking at my watch, too busy looking at my watch. But
your legs going the fastest they'd ever gone underneath you.
Yeah, it was pretty. I did. I've seen some of
that.
I've seen some of the finishing photographs, and it's fair to say I was trying to get under the 3 hours. But like I said, good for age for 2023 was my
goal.
Yeah. And I'm not, my ego wanted to be under 2:59. That's what it is. But, sub 3 London, Bob Graham round, podium at St Cuthbert's Way, loads of memories on the trails. It's been a pretty wonderful year. I can't, and I've had a year on a podcast too, so it's been pretty.
I was going to say, I didn't even mention in your top 5 highlights, and I was going to let it go. But later on, when you stopped pressing record, I was going to go, no, next time. Not what you said. It's the way that you said
it. But yeah,
let's
it was wonderful.
The important part of this marathon and this whole trip. Let's talk about what some of these Spanish snacks you might have had.
Oh yeah, well, it was pretty.
What is it like? Paella,
tapas. We stayed off. We were so bored, honestly. So we had pizza and pasta the first 2 days. Gwen had pizza and pasta, and in the same restaurant too, because we were on Pooley, so we thought we'll go there again. That was
a strategy there.
And then on the Sunday, everything was all systems go. We didn't care. That's when we kind of hit the paella and the beers. That was fantastic. But
you didn't have to fly back then. You didn't fly back till Monday.
Yeah, it was about 2:00 or something in the afternoon on Monday, something like that. So it was quite a relaxed morning. But my goodness me, the Spanish still, it's like every night it was 2 or 3 in the morning, which
we wouldn't do well in the Spanish.
Well, the guest house, the hotel we're in, because they don't need to have double glazing because of the weather. But so their windows were pretty rubbish, and you could hear everything. So good job we had our little earplugs. But yeah, quite noisy. So if you're a marathon, I would say it's definitely 100%. It's definitely a destination to go for a marathon. But yeah, maybe pick your hotels wisely and definitely take some earplugs because it is blooming noisy. It was just a perfect few days with Justin, my running buddy. He had a fantastic race, 2:55, give or take a few seconds. And I think more importantly for Justin, he did a sub 25K to finish, and he was going past people. So that's, it's like when you have a strong finish. Yeah, no matter what your pace is, if you're finishing strong, it's a wonderful place to be in any race. So yeah, well done to Justin. I'd definitely go again. I think 100% I would go back to Valencia. It's it's a perfect road marathon. I know we're running the hills, but a perfect tarmac destination.
You need to add a sprinkling of speed into this, Gary, because your co-host is just getting slower and slower. Well done. Super proud of you. Good for age. You can carry twittering on about road marathons for another few years. That's job done. Next stop, Lakeland 100.
Yeah, I'm going to do
quite yourself from this buff road marathon into this gnarly mountain man.
Oh, but you know what, Diddy? I just love the openness of the road, just all out on the road. There's something.
Not going to get that in Lakeland. I thought you were going to say I love the openness of the trails, and I was going. No,
I just think from the off, you're just if you're in for a time on the road. The trails are so different because miles are different. Miles are different.
It's a different sport.
But you just hit the gun goes on the road and you're off at that speed for hopefully,
I mean, in some ways it takes away so much of the what ifs, doesn't it? Because all you got to think about, your feet, you don't have to worry about anything, any terrain. All you have to do is just
run. You know what I wish though? If I was one takeaway, I relied quite heavily on data, the watch, the heart rate. like Justin is more of a racer than me, and if he feels like he can push, he'll push. It was interesting actually on cross country. My heart rate monitor fell off through the week, and that for about 3 minutes put my mind into a bit of a spin. But then I just relaxed to it and just kind of kept trying to chase the person in front of me, and it was good. But yeah, with all the data in front of me at Valencia, maybe it held me back a bit. I don't know. It's kind of only I'll know that. But yeah, lots of races ended already. Actually, Old County Tops, the Howarth Hobble. Stuff like that along the way, but I really want to bust out a good 10k. I think in between two, get some speed back in the legs.
So much. Get training. So we'll talk about what's happening next later. Let's get on to our guest because he's a good one. What can we say about Jamie? He's a totally normal, understated, humble guy who's done 3 really incredible, mind-bending achievements. I mean, I just felt so
lazy.
Yeah, he's run across Canada. I was about a good Canada, USA, and has the world record for 7-day treadmill running. We love talking to him. He was such a pro and so passionate about running and helping others. It made our interviewing job really easy. And that's, I think, why he was like, you guys had that down pat. We're like, no, you did. We just went, oh my God, you're amazing, you're amazing. So here we go. Enjoy as much as we did. Here's our chat with real life superhero, Jamie McDonald. In 2018, Jamie McDonald ran solo and unsupported coast to coast across America, the equivalent of 210 marathons, an impressive feat for anyone, let alone someone who was told as a child they might never walk again. Dressed as his alter ego, Adventureman, Jamie set about raising money and awareness for children's hospitals, not only providing invaluable funds, but also, perhaps even more importantly, inspiring both children and parents to find hope even in the darkest of times. Huge welcome to Jamie, not James. He's not a James, as we learned from the book, to Run to the Hills podcast. How are you? Where are you? And have you been for a run today?
I have not been for a run today.
No. Disappointment from Adventureman right at the start.
Oh no.
But Adventureman can't lie.
No, I can't. No, I'm too honest. So the next thing, which is like much more better news, is I'm from Gloucester.
Hey.
We've all been reminiscing about our Gloucester connections, and as soon as we do, we all start talking like Gloucester. It's an accent that is very unique. It's so West Country, but it's not West Country.
Because you're from Cheltenham, like with this posh accent, I think it's probably, just feels like rural.
Well, I can't really understand what you're saying, to be honest.
Have you ever done the cheese roll? Is that Gloucester? Or is that?
No, it is, Gary. Yeah. So I've done the cheese rolling, but annoyingly, I was at this point in my life where I was really young and stupid. Everyone's been at that point. I think I might have been maybe 23, and I just consciously became aware of actually fear and what might happen. Yeah. And so I was at that cusp of that age, and then I went for it, and then I was like, no. So I kind of went down, but I went down like an absolute wussy.
Classic.
And so I didn't win. I was terrible. It was like pretty much last place. So
my kids, because they hurtle themselves down mountains as their leisure activity, living in the Alps. And I showed them the YouTube clip of that because I was like, one day I'm going to take you back because I think you could win this, kids, because of the no fear and the complete. But then we watched the video. I was like, oh my God, people are mad fit and the legs and arms going everywhere. And
yeah, I mean, your kids must think you're like the best mum ever.
Yeah, let's go. I've got one here and he's going, no
way. If we can go on to the book though, my goodness, Jamie, what a journey. Hell's bells. I was super curious to why America. You've done Asia, Canada, and for people who haven't read the book or haven't kind of followed your journey, why America?
Well, probably about, I'd say 8 years ago, I ended up saving up to put a deposit on a house, and I saved up £20,000. I know. Okay,
It's
heck
a
of
lot of dosh.
a lot of dosh, and I went to go and sign the papers, and right at the last minute, I just got this gut feeling in my stomach. I was like, something's wrong. So I pulled out, and the house people were really annoyed at me, and then yeah, I kind of then started to reflect and kind of thought about what's going on with the world and what is there to it. What there's got to be more than just this.
Yes.
So when I got in touch with the hospital that helped me as a kid. So that part, I don't know if I shared it well enough in the book, but I've got a condition called shrigomyelitis. So symptoms as a kid, sometimes I couldn't move my legs and so on. But I'm really glad I got healthy and well at 9 years old through running. Way we like running, don't we? And then so instead of getting the house, I guess I then thought about kind of trying to give back, and I felt like I had this sense of adventure. So I bought a bicycle for 50 quid out of the newspaper, and then I ended up hearing about this guy that cycled around the world, and thought, wow, should I be mentioning cycling on this podcast? Is that like a swear
We do
word?
mention cycling.
We do talk about cycling.
We get a few complaints, but they got to suck it up. Let's do it.
Right, okay, swiftly. I mean, so I heard about this guy that cycled around the world. He was just a normal guy, right? Really normal. And his name was Joe, actually. I mean, it couldn't get more normal than that, could it, really, Joe? Average Joe. And so when I heard about this guy cycling the world, I thought, well, actually, maybe I could do something like that. So when I'd done the big cycling trip afterwards, I got myself a visa for Canada to go on holiday. Right. But it felt right. And so then it kind of snowballed to me then running across Canada. Yeah. And then after that, I kind of just went, oh, God, this is all a bit too much. So I then just took a couple of years out. And then I thought, like every great adventure, that it just continues. There's just more great adventures. So I kind of started where I left off in Canada from Vancouver and then headed down into America and across America.
Now, it's safe to say, Jamie, you did kind of get lost a few times and meandered a lot on the route, but how did you plan the route? I think you probably approached it slightly different to myself. I think I would have had every meter GPSed, but that doesn't seem to be your approach. Google Maps seem to be heavily used.
It's a good question, actually. And so some people are planners, aren't there? And there are some people that are just naive. And so I'm into the
doers, I like to call them, Jamie. There's doers.
Oh, okay. Oh, you like to put a nice sticker on it. I mean, I don't like to glamorize it. I realise the naive people, they're a bit of a wildfire, and they're a bit loose, and it can all go horribly wrong very easily. But I'll take it. I reckon doers, I'll take it, Eddie. So I guess I didn't do too much planning apart from I had a 1-year visa in America, and I wanted to visit as many children's hospitals as I possibly could. So the planning was really is that we worked out that I'd probably go do a big smiley face, so I'd kind of go right the way down, and that seemed like the most reasonable. But apart from that, that was about the only plan. All between those places was just like go for it and what happens.
I wondered if, because you did some work with Google, whether they'd sponsored you, and they said that you can only do it if you use Google Maps. Test out a few of these routes. We're not sure about that path, like just down near Mexico. Can you just go and see what it's like?
Well, yeah, I mean, Google Maps is the way forward, isn't it? I mean, it's never let me down. A couple times it's let me down, but overall, I mean, you just stick Google on and away you go.
They could have put one of those cameras on your buggy on Caesar. You could have mapped out all these new routes for them. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I should have. I mean, I ended up speaking for Google, didn't I, in New York? So I probably... I should have got them to throw me a load of cash. I mean, I really should have.
Yeah. It's quite a big unit, though. I wouldn't want to carry that around with you, the Google camera. I've seen someone do that. It's massive. You aim for a marathon every day, and I didn't start that way. It's really hard. I don't want to talk about too much. I don't want to give too much away, but you didn't start. You did build up to it slowly. I was always curious to these challenges. You either kind of go in fit or you get fit as you go. How was that journey for you?
Yeah, well, I ended up right before this trip, I ended up doing a Canadian book tour. Right, so there wasn't really much time to run or train, and it was in the winter. So me and my wife Anna, we just ended up drinking coffee and eating donuts in preparation before. Yeah, so I wasn't in a very good shape at all, but as you said, I've kind of had experience before where I think, well, I can train up and go well, if I start off slow. But on my first day, I kind of went at it, and of course, I just thought, right, let's just go for it because I was a bit excited, and I just smashed out a marathon, and and then in the morning, I just went, oh no, what have I done? Like my foot is just so flared up, and the plantar fascia, that big muscle at the bottom. I mean, you're runners, you get it. I actually didn't know. I've never had an injury in that place before. So I picked up the phone to the nearest hospital, which was hundreds of miles away. I was in the middle of the rainforest. And I was like, right, so my foot's really hurting. This is the pain. And this nurse said, it sounds to me like you've torn your plantar fascia. I'm like, what does that mean? And he's like, well, you're probably going to need about 6 weeks off. I'm like, no, that cannot happen. You don't understand. So I put the phone down. I'm thinking, right, well, this is a false start. I'm going to have to literally start this whole thing again in 6 weeks' time. And then I picked up the phone to my lovely lady, Anna, who's like a strong runner as well. And she said, look, Jamie, she said, just sit tight. Something will come up. It will all work out. And I'm like, no, Anna, not this. You don't understand. 6 weeks. There's no way I can run, And then sure enough, the next day I listened to what she said. I just thought, I sit tight. And I was walking around where I was in this like little Airbnb spot, and I wasn't feeling any pain in my foot. I thought, why? And I looked down and I was barefoot.
Yeah.
And so then I kind of thought, right, I need to run barefoot. I've never done that before. So I kind of went out, gave it a whirl, and sure enough, I wasn't getting any pain. And so I then started calling up like all these shoe shop places, hundreds of miles away. Can you deliver barefoot shoes? Yeah. Of course, no one can deliver where I was. It was the middle of nowhere. So then eventually we went to the nearest hardware store, and then we found these shoes that you get that you wear in an ocean.
That's right. Yeah.
They're called like water shoes or something like that. I don't know. So I put them on, and then I just got cracking, and it was tough. But I was excited because I wasn't getting any pain, and that's all that mattered. And then I realized I needed to get strong. So I started to run. I was running maybe 6 miles a day like that for the first few days, and I was up at 10, 13, and then I had to actually run like 300 miles in the end in these water shoes. I guess I discovered barefoot running.
You discovered it. You were actually perhaps
discovered it. It was and so then what I'd done, I've always just liked normal running, so I then got a pair of normal shoes when I stopped feeling pain in the plantar fascia, and then I just alternated, and then that was like my technique then for the rest of the trip. I really enjoyed running barefoot for 10 miles to begin the run, and then finish it off with supported shoes. I just mixed it up really.
I love the learning as you go along. Pop some swim shoes on.
Doers, yes, the doers.
Problem solving.
Problem solving is all.
We always talk about this problem solving. Yeah, all these people plantar fasciitis go out and just get some
swim shoes on Amazon are going to rock it.
Yeah.
And I loved it actually. There was always a thread of you conditioning yourself. The yoga and strength exercises. So anybody who wants to do any kind of endurance event, there's some good tips and habits there, definitely in the book.
Nature plays quite a large role in the book, with lots of adventures along the way with various wild animals, which you and I, as I'm reading it, were truly terrified about what was going to happen. I don't want to give all the stories away, but there's lions, coyotes, and the nest of tarantulas, which really made me barf. Could you share with us perhaps just one of the little brief stories about one of your encounters with a wild animal? Let's talk this up.
Well, so the naivety is I ended up hitting Arizona at the hottest time of year. In full-blown summer. So it was hitting sometimes 60 degrees in the daytime. It was the hottest place on earth. Just great planning, just superb. So the only way to then, get through it, and as you said, find a solution, was to run at night. That was never in the plan, but it was the only way to run every inch. So I started to run, and it was quite a magical space to be running at night and seeing the sunrise every morning, but then you had to race to get a cold place or a place to stay out of the sun. But this one night I was running, it was about 2 a.m. Hadn't seen a car all night, pitch black, head torch, you just got sand either side on a road, that's it. But a car came towards me and I seen the headlights and I heard it like turn around behind me. And I thought, oh, they're coming back to see me. They're coming to say hi. I'm like, great, humans. And then the car pulls up next to me and the window comes down. And this woman's like, she was acting all awkward. And I was like, you all right, love? I just don't know whether to tell you or not. And I said, you go for it. I'm sure it'll be fine. And she said, right, we all running that way, yeah? And I said, yeah, I'm running that way to the town of Wickerburg. I should make it by morning. And she said, right, well, I think it's best to let you know, a mile up the road, we just spotted a mountain lion.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, of course, I'm thinking, what does that actually mean?
Yeah. Yes, because to us English folk, it's like Lion King, Disney or Longleat.
I'd struggle to process how serious that was actually, because like being a Brit, just so alien to me.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm thinking with the big, the hairy lion, and so and she replies to that and she says, well, I don't really know what that means. And I said, right, well, I certainly don't know. And then she says, right, well, I think it was best that I did let you know. Well, good luck, bye. And I just wiped off. So, but then you got this moment, haven't you, of like, right, okay, I'm like, do I run back to nowhere or do I keep going forward? So, of course, got to go forward. So, do you know what I've done? I mean, I don't even know if I wrote it in the book, but I just thought I've got to grab something. I've got to go into fight, right? If I have to meet this man. So I grabbed the only thing I could, which was a penknife out of my pram, right? It was a tiny little penknife. I mean,
that'll do the trick.
Yeah, I mean, it would have clearly done more harm to me than the mountain lion. And then I went for it, and I don't know if you've ever listened to the desert, but it's like every single noise wants to kill you.
Yeah. And
so I was on high alert, looking at, hearing every sound of the desert, and then I saw something. And I looked over, and I went, no, that can't be. And then I saw it. And it was a big, massive tarantula, right? And so I forget the mountain lion. I'm petrified of spiders, right? So I put my foot to it to show the perspective. I started filming it, and it was half the size of my foot. And as I put my foot to the floor, the tarantula must have felt the vibration, and it turns around, it just starts running at me, right? So I start sprinting, I start going, right, hell for leather. Then the next tarantula comes up, next one, and then what Eddie mentioned before, there was hundreds of them all across the road. So I'm screaming my head off, right? And I'm actually hitting them with my pram. I'm rolling over them, and you can hear the crashes, right? And so it was a night with wildlife. I mean, it was, but I made it into the marathon, and I made it to this tiny town. Cafe was open, and I walked in, and I was still, like, my eyes were probably bulging out my head, but I was so tired and exhausted. And, I just thought, what was going on? And then this guy says, wow, you look like you've had a rough night. Like, oh my God, so I really have. And so I tell him about the tarantulas, right? I just go straight in on the tarantulas. And he goes, wow. He said, do you know what? He said, people are traveling all around the world to kind of find those nests of tarantulas. And he said, you are really lucky.
It sounds like a B movie. It's like in the night going over tarantulas and stuff like that. And then this
what would have happened if you'd stood still?
The tarantula would have eaten me.
Yeah. I was there.
You'd have been cocooned in some kind of big web.
I don't know if you ever watched Arachnophobia.
Yeah.
Or years ago. But I do think perhaps we need to put a caveat that if you have got arachnophobia, this perhaps little section of the podcast we go on.
Food was a massive part in this journey. Food seemed to play a big part with your mood. It's safe to say there wasn't any kind of kale or any keto diet or anything like that going on. Any particular standout bit of food that fueled your adventure? I
mean, it would always be, weirdly, I would always just eat butter and tin sardines.
I mean, does this? Was it, because you mentioned...
Yeah, you want to know what butter it is.
You're literally just eating scoops of butter, or is it like a peanut butter?
No, like the proper Irish butter.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Because when I go on these adventures, I don't really look at food. You know, when I'm really in the middle of nowhere, I just don't think of food as, oh, this is going to be nice. I just think I need to get through this. Yeah. I mean, I used to just eat, you know, tin sardines and butter and spoon it in, and it was just great. I seemed to run really, really well on it. But then I would get to a place or a town or a city or anything, and then nothing stands out. But weirdly, do you know what I just always craved was hot food.
Hot.
I didn't care what it was. I just wanted it to be hot.
Yeah. I had some tin mackerel today. It's
in your honour, Jamie. Was
solidarity with you.
Thanks, Gary. I really appreciate that. I got a lot of love for that.
Do you still sometimes urge a little bit of tinned fish and butter? Do you like watch? Oh, it's nothing for lunch. I'll just get the butter dish out.
I do put a lot on toast. I mean, I really whack butter on toast. I mean, you have to, don't you, to make sure it goes all the way through and it's moist enough.
We talked about Caesar, but perhaps we haven't actually really introduced Caesar to our podcast audience. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about Caesar? And is it? I always thought of Caesar as a man. Would we say he was a masculine version? Can you tell us a little bit about Caesar and his role in your journey?
Yeah. So back in Canada, I started off with a backpack. I mean, obviously, how else are you going to run it? You know, and so back then, you know, that naivety, I was just like, right, I'll run. But then, of course, 2 weeks in, the weight was so much, my foot went crack and had to get bone scanned literally towards the end of the adventure, right early on. And a Canadian actually said, have you thought about using a pram? I was like, pram? You know, it didn't even cross my mind. So we shipped one in right there and then. And, you know, those prams you get where you see, you know, like in America, they're running along a beach, you know.
What pram did you use? Because I can't see on the picture.
It was a fuel.
Oh, fuel. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, back now, that's 7 years old. So then I thought we need to give him a name. And weirdly, I felt like I was so broken and weak at this point. Like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. So I needed this like strong man with me, which is, I don't know, weird. So I called him Caesar. I mean, it's so weird. But, you know, that's, you know, so he was like my Wilson then, you know,
right, yeah.
and so that was it. And then we went off. And so he ended up doing all of Canada, and then I put him in my parents' garage, and it just rusted and cobwebs. And when the next adventure came a few years later, I was like, Caesar.
Get the oil tin out.
Yeah. And he was amazingly resilient, because you only actually mentioned like once in the book, there's a little bit where he slightly falls apart and he has a bit of TLC with some inner tubes, but it's heavy, isn't it? You're pushing, it's not just a pram with a small child in.
Yeah, no, it weighed the same as me, which is about 65 kilograms or something.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, so heavy. I mean, if you push him, I mean, it's like pushing a house really, because it had everything, and every time you hit a hill.
Yeah, and I guess it increases your friction against the air as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then you got the wind, and then when you go up and over the mountains, you got to go down hills, and then you got to like really pull it back, and your feet slap on the ground. It's like, oh, it's rough. But weirdly, I'm so adapted to it that actually I feel a bit weird not having a pram run.
Well, that's what I did a lot of pram running with my first and second kids when it was the only way I could run during the day would be to put them in the pram. And I got so good at it that like I could like push it, hardly felt like I was like pushing it. And then if my husband would come with me and he'd like huff and puff if he had to push the pram, but I was actually better with the pram. Yeah. I guess the glutes and the hamstrings get really used to like overworking, but yeah. I was going to ask you, did you actually feel, because I know people kept asking if they could push it if they ran with you, and whether you felt a bit
pushed it, but they always look so uncomfortable pushing it, and then they just breathe really heavily. And
be like, can I just?
I'll be a bit protective over it. It's my Caesar.
yeah. Get lost. I mean, this is my partner in crime.
Where is Caesar now?
Caesar is back in the garage. I mean, he's better, but he is not looking good now.
Oh man, he's had enough paper around.
There is no way he doesn't have one more mile left in him. I mean, he's done.
Goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, Gloucester Museum are going to take him in
I was
Awesome.
going to say, surely it's something for the V&A by now, isn't it?
Tate Modern, surely.
Yeah.
Or Tate Modern, isn't it? Yeah. Caesar installation. So many wonderful people, Jamie, you met along the way. You know, running through towns. Some of them drove hundreds of miles to join you. I don't want to say who was your kind of favorite you met, but, you know, if you could go back and have a cup of coffee or a beer or some sparkling water with anyone in particular, has anyone spring to mind? I've got my favorites. If you want to ask me, there's one guy in particular I love.
Yeah.
Very fun.
Oh, you go for it. Yeah, go on, because there were so many people. I mean,
Well, Jim for me, the Uber guy, the Uber driver, he put some miles in. And if my memory's correct, he I don't want to spoil it too, but he basically lit up Caesar, didn't he? Provided the lights for Caesar.
Wow, he was the one. So when I was in Seattle, I had a friend who said, "I'll give you a lift back to, you know, the coastal line, and so you can crack on running." And then of course, then he bailed on me, right? He's you know, great friend.
Always,
right?
yeah, a flaky friend.
Yeah, flaky friend. But what he done is he said, "But don't worry, Jamie, because I've got you a lift sorted." And I went, "Go on." And he said, "It's an Uber driver. His name's Jim."
Sweet.
So I jumped in the van with Jim, and then I don't know, he's like this really big, massive military guy with this like beautiful kind of soft voice. And he's like a gentle giant. And so, yeah, when he took me to the coast, he said, "Do you want to stay at mine?" So I slept at his. He took me for breakfast. And he said, "Jamie, you know, I'm looking at your timing." He was a real planner. And he said, "I'm looking at your timing of when you're going to end up in the desert in the hottest time. And you just can't do that." And he'd always say, man. I'm all right, Jim, I'll be fine, you know. Anyway, I just cracked on because I don't like to think too far ahead. If I think too far ahead, I get really scared, and I'm like, I just want to live for now. Yeah. And but then, sure enough, I think maybe about 2 months later, you know, and like an insane amount of miles, Jim just rocks up with these lights, right? And he's like, you're heading into the desert and you're going to have to run at night. I'm like, "Jim, I'm not thinking about it." He said, "Here's some lights." So he drove, and I mean, it must have been easily over 1,000 miles to come and deliver me lights. I mean,
yeah.
Have you ever heard from Jim again?
Oh yeah, I mean, I just love Jim. I mean, he's just a heart of gold. So we do the odd kind of text message and check in with each other, and obviously I can't do that with everyone because there are so many people. When you do these things on your own, it's just it's hundreds, and so many people take you in. So, but you're right. You know, as a standout, Jim was pretty cool.
He's a wonderful human. I think somebody mentioned that to you. I think impressed with someone's generosity, and they were just saying, "No, I'm just being human." I think, so many wonderful humans along the way.
We talked to a few adventurers, haven't we, Gary? And the biggest thing that often comes out of their adventures is the humanness of people and the spirit of generosity that kind of motivates them, is the kindness of strangers.
There was a few people who early on, maybe unwittingly, weren't so kind. I think a route choice and food options available. There was a couple that weren't so generous, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They were just maybe didn't have the knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. You know, America's it's a crazy place because it's got the most beautiful people on the planet. But I mean, it didn't all work out. You know, like nice people take me in. I remember I was running down the coast. And I just suddenly couldn't camp anywhere. And it was like private land, or people thought I was homeless, and it just became a real challenge. So, and I was at this point where I was starting to run a marathon a day. And so then you can imagine sleep is so important. And every night I would put up my tent and I'd be shaking, being woken up after a few hours, being like, "Get out of here."
Oh my
God. And it got really rough. And eventually I pulled out Google Maps. Love Google Maps, right? And then I found this little green spot on Google Maps. I'm thinking, right, that's a green spot. There's no way I'm going to run people in that spot there. So I ended up running till 2 a.m. and I put the tent up in some bushes. I put my head down. I was so tired. I mean, I was like psychotically tired. And I hear this voice, right? And it's like, "Right, you better get out of here, otherwise I'm going to call the cops on you."
Like, oh
And I'm like,
man.
yeah, but no, but there's no way it was real. There's no way, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, just keep sleeping. Yeah, this is beautiful. Keep going. It's just like some crazy voices. And then the next voice I hear is, you better get out of the tent, put your hands first.
Oh my goodness.
And that one felt real, right? So my heart then just started to boo, boo, boo. And so I leapt up, right? But I was so exhausted, but yet the adrenaline just like, it was like a rush. So sure enough, I mean, we've all probably watched police camera action. You know, when you hear the words hands.
Please carry or traffic interceptors, two of my
yeah, right. I know, and now I'm actually in America hearing that. So I'm thinking, right, this is,
yeah.
I put my hands out of the tent, right? I listened to what he said. I put my hands out, and I was so dumb, but I tipped around and I tilted my head, just peeped out of the tent, and sure enough, he's there with his hand on his gun, right, and his knife ready to put on me. And he says, "What's your name?" And I was like, Do you know what I said? Do you know what I said? I've got a website. What? So,
he's probably never heard that before. 100%.
So yeah, I mean, I won't tell you the rest of that story. You have to read it, but yeah.
But you ever? I traveled, just backpacked years ago, Australia, and I had major exit every night. I had a big anxiety about, can I stay here tonight? You seem to just naturally, you know, if it looked dry, you know, that was kind of good enough to stop. Were you pretty anxious, or were you quite comfortable? I suppose you've done this is obviously in your first big adventure. So
yeah, early on, I always say like the adventures take a while to adapt. So like the first month is just so uncomfortable, like everything, the running, the sleeping, the whole thing is just insanely uncomfortable. And then you just, over a bit of time, you then become really comfortable with, you know, the environment and sleeping. Yeah. And actually it feels really nice. And then actually when you sleep in someone's house with a proper bed and all those things, you're like, God, this is so strange. This is weird, you know. So you end up adapting the other way. And so yeah, just really uncomfortable to begin with. But it did make me feel anxious. And when you're camping out there and you hear noises, I'm human. I still feel fear like everyone else. But I'm very good at overriding it, going, do you know what? That's just a little voice in your head. You need to just chill out and just relax, and it will all be okay.
You mentioned during the book about you pass through states, and it feels in the book that it's quite quick. You know, you're in a state and then you're out into the next state. But you pass through, it seemed to go quite quickly. If you could go back to one place and stop and visit the area, where would it be in America?
Oh, good question.
I'm reading this question, but it was actually Gary's because I feel guilty. I've just stolen it, Gary.
Oh, thanks, Eddie.
It
was such a good question, but the one before wasn't.
Stole it.
I stole it. It's a good question.
You take the cred. Do you know what I really like? I mean, maybe people won't care actually about this at all, but I really liked being in Philadelphia and doing the Rocky steps.
Oh,
I mean, I'm just, as a child,
I'm just one guy wanting to be Rocky.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I watched all his films. I mean, Rocky in my world is real. Like, he actually exists.
Yeah.
Human being. He's beat Drago. He's conquered the world in boxing. So I guess when I actually got to go to the steps and run up and be like, yeah, I mean, it was just magical. And the city for me just had this magical air about it. And, you know, and I think, was it like eating cheesy, like, I don't know, hot dogs? It just felt like Philadelphia. It felt really American.
Proper America.
Yeah.
Well, for a Brit, it's you like watching a movie. As soon as you're in the States, it's just like, my goodness me, this is just like fairy tale stuff.
Yeah. And another place that felt like that was Washington, D.C. You know, you got the White House, you got all those iconic buildings. And like you said, it's like a film. I mean, Independence Day where the laser goes down, and blows up the buildings. You're like, I'm here. Like, this
Not
is
real. And also because I guess you're cocooned in this like constant exhaustion sweat fest that also there's a blur around you probably as well that is this real? You know, you're not in the real world when you're doing an adventure like that, are you?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You are kind of in another planet, if you like.
Well, I was going to ask you, did it feel surreal? You know, 1 minute you're doing a motivational speech or a fundraising event, and the next minute you're kind of fighting off tarantulas. What was that like?
He didn't fight them off, Gary. He ran through them. Let's not give him too much.
Gary's on my side here. I like it. Yeah. We need to work on Eddie, though. I mean,
every week this is.
Yeah. No, it's a very, very bizarre experience. I mean, it's and you it's what you say. It's like whether you're giving a talk, whether I was visiting a hospital. I just never knew what was around the corner. So it's straight away. I mean, it makes me think of this one moment. I don't like camping in the rain. I hate it. It's like my kryptonite. Putting up the tent in rain, putting down.
I don't think anybody goes, come on, let's go and put that tent in the rain.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I ran along this road. It was really dead quiet. There's hardly anything, but a garage popped up. So I went in and I said to the lady, I said, is there anywhere that I can put my tent around here that's a bit dry, you know? And in my brain, I'm just thinking, come on, love, please let me in somewhere or just give me a place. And there was a guy that was behind me. And he had this really strong, I think it was Louisiana accent. So it was really hard to understand him, but he said, you can stay in mine. And I was like, oh, great, you know. And then he like kind of gave me these really quick directions and then just left, right? And it happened so fast. I couldn't even tune in to who he was, or I just remember the directions. So I got running. I thought, right, well, at least I'm going to be out of the rain. And I hit this road that he said for me to go down. Do you know what the name of the road was? Machine Gun Road.
Machine Gun, yeah. I remember this.
And I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. You know that?
Girls.
Yeah, you know, and that anxiety that kicks in. You're like, what am I doing? This is insane. Like, I just shouldn't be going to this guy's house. And then I finally get there, knock on the door, and there he was. You know, he just had a big, massive beer belly, big, huge moustache, and he's like, come on in. And then he chain smoked in his house. You could hardly see anything. And then he put the Super Bowl on, got me a beer. And I was just sat there in this cloud of smoke thinking, this is the most bizarre thing. I'm like, what? How did I ever get to this point? Like,
you must have had those every day because it seemed like every day something. Oh, it's all good content for the book. A question: when you were running, were you thinking, I'm going to be writing a book about this when I finish? How did you remember all this? Did you have to sort of make notes every evening? Because a lot of it must sort of all be a bit in a dreamlike haze, maybe.
Yeah, it's a real challenge. I mean, it is such a challenge. I was doing quite a lot of blogging in the early stages where, I don't know, my motivation was pretty strong then, and to really get the fundraising off. And then as the second half kind of went, it's just getting through the day and making it through the run was enough, let alone writing a blog at the end of the day and all that. So I started to make a few notes, but I guess it wasn't my first rodeo or my first book.
Yeah. So you knew stuff. You were like, this is good content. The tarantula story. We got a chapter.
Well, so see, this is it with the book writing and this was experience that I knew because on my run across Canada, I didn't make any notes at all. I just done videos. So that was my only thing. But the great thing is with an adventure, if you just sit there and you go, right, what's the first memory you're just like, boom, that's it, you know. And actually that first memory was the mountain lion story. And so then you just get writing it. You know, you're like, right, well, what else, you know? And then you just go, oh yeah, I remember going to that person's house. You just get writing on that, and suddenly you just like knock out all these stories, and you've got way more than you can imagine for a book's worth. And I'm not very good at, you know, creating a book, if you like. I understand what a good story is, and I know how to just go, blah, you know. So it's just, it's just very, straightforward.
It's truthful, honest, and it's a true reflection of you as a person, which is exactly what you want if you read a book like this. You don't need any embellishments on an adventure like that.
I was amazed at all of the other stuff that went on. When I started reading the book, I just thought it was going to be this running journey. But like you say, you mentioned about the blogging and the interviews and then the loose planning. It was like, my goodness me, it's just like all this other stuff, and I have all the energy for everything. Yes, you I suppose you can't really switch off sometimes when all you want to do is put your feet up and eat your burger. You've got to be doing the blog and the social media.
Yeah, and there is no switch off, but it is a 1 year adventure, and so it really, it comes to an end, and you just live and breathe it every second. And for me, a huge part, and I guess it's a challenge, like doing the social media and doing the interviews and stuff, but all that hard work for me is, then I get to raise money for kids' hospitals, and I get to give back. And that's that. When you do these like huge adventures, I've kind of been there and done it, and done adventures and broke records where I've proved to myself that I can do it. And I really had to clean that my self-worth demon out in the early days of my life. Yeah. Once I got rid of that, well, why am I doing an adventure now? You need that kind of bigger, higher purpose than you. And so as challenging as all the fundraising is and everything that comes with it, it is what got me out of the tent every morning, got me doing the miles. And then that's what kind of then pushed and ended up raising, I think we pushed up to maybe $250,000 or something in that year.
I think one day you had, was it $10,000 in a day? If I remember that right. What was that like? I get excited if I've got an eBay auction going and it's clicking up. refresh. You're seeing thousands roll in.
Yeah, well, I was pinching myself because I got invited to speak at the Microsoft headquarters, right? Which is, it's my day job to be a motivational speaker, right? But when I'm on these trips, I can use it then to help with the fundraising. So they invited me to speak, and I left there thinking, they better come up with some donations soon, and they didn't, right? They didn't. I'm thinking, you're Microsoft, what's going on here? But then later on, I think I was about the halfway point, and they said, right, we're going to do this auction for you. And I said, cool, let's do a live auction. So they rallied all those people that I spoke to. They'd done this huge auction, and one of them was to send 2 runners out to the finish to join me, and that was one of the prizes. And I think that auction ended up raising in that day like $20,000. I mean, yeah.
That's good. That's good PR. That someone at Microsoft weren't there.
And the person that got me into Microsoft, his name was Ted, and I called him Super Ted. He's a big character in the book. So, yeah.
There's a lot of characters. You got Anxious Man, Memory Man, Super Ted, Super Wonder Woman.
I love. Don't share that, but Memory Man, when you ring it, it got me.
Oh, that's a true story. I mean, you wouldn't believe it's true, but yeah.
Some of the stories when I read them, I'm like, that's not true. Anyway, last question from me. During the chat, you just decide on an early night to embark on beating the 517 miles in 7 days treadmill world record, which I think you tried to do before but hadn't been able to get the okay from the Guinness World Records. Is that right? This is at the end of the book, and it's a complete change of vibe for me when I got to this part of the book. It really choked me, Jamie, the intense suffering you go through during this challenge. I think you portray it much more than you do any suffering that you happened in America. You're running across America is sort of like a lot about the characters you meet in your journey, but the treadmill, obviously it was a lot more focus on the pain. So it's such an inspiration for anyone to read that part of what the human body is capable of. But also the love and support shown to you by your support crew during that attempt, especially by your in-laws. What was harder, the treadmill world record attempt or the run across America?
Oh, yeah, I mean, you already know the answer to that, don't you? If you read it, I mean, it was easily hands down and more. it will always be the treadmill challenge.
Looking back on it now, if you'd known what you were going to put yourself through, would you have attempted it maybe quite so close? Because it was only a month after you came back from America, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I'd never attempted this challenge before. I thought about attempting it, but my foot was just too bad. So I never attempted it. So it was the first time. So I didn't really know what to expect, at all. I've never really spent much time running on a treadmill, to be honest, ever. So it doesn't sound like fun, but I thought, well, if I'm going to attempt that challenge, I've just run over 5,000 miles across America. I'm going to be conditioned. And so let's just go for it. Let's see if I can carry on with the fundraising and keep the energy going. So a month later, I attempted it, but I got it hugely wrong. And where I got it wrong is it's completely different to running with a pram, Caesar, on a road and then suddenly running on a treadmill. I mean, it's like cycling and running. I mean, it's that different. So I think it was like day 2 and my ankles just swelled up like elephant ankles. I mean, it was the most horrific pain I think I've ever been in. And but annoyingly, so annoying, when I start something, I've just got that burning desire of like, I can't let anyone down. I've got to do this. I've got to see it through no matter what. And but I've been told by Anna, my partner in crime, I'm never allowed to do anything like that again.
Yeah, because it was your stubbornness, but it was also the stubbornness of your very close support crew that actually kept you on that treadmill, refusing to let you off, which is sometimes much harder than, because they must have been like really worried at some points.
Yeah, well, one of my support members, right, I think it was day 3 or 4, I got to the point, no one really knew, but in my mind, and it's the first time I've ever done this in my life, I actually gave up. Like I was on the treadmill and I was in so much pain and I physically couldn't run. And so I really went hell for leather in the first 100 miles because I thought, well, I'm going to be in a load of pain anyway, whatever. So I may as well be ahead of the record. But then I got to a place where I was 300 miles in and suddenly I just couldn't run. And so I thought, there's no way the record was actually leveling with me and passing me. And I thought, well, I'm done. And so I couldn't find a really nice moment to get off the treadmill. I was thinking, you just look for the moment. It never came. And I went to sleep. I had my I think it was 2 hours that night of sleep. And I woke up in the morning. And it was the worst thing is trying to, I mean, we all know what it feels like when you stop running and then you've got to get going again. Yeah. But this was like a whole new level. I mean, I had to be carried to the treadmill and then get it going. And so I don't know if you've ever heard a man like scream their head off at full bellowing while trying to move their legs. I mean, it was bad. So anyway, I got going and then I just said, why am I even doing this? Because I'm getting off. But I really wanted to show people that I was trying. Anyway, I just got to the point and I thought, I'm doing it. So I looked at my dad. My dad was there as support. And I just said, right, he wasn't officially, part of it. He was just there. And so I said, Dad, I'm getting off. And he went, what do you mean getting off, Jamie? You're not getting off. I said, no, Dad, I'm done. Look at the state of me. I can't run. And he said, look, the support team haven't been great. We're going to get, from now on, we're going to get food on tap. We're going to get the right food. We're going to get water on tap. I said, Dad, food and water's not going to sort out what's going on. Look at the statement. And he said, we're going to get ibuprofen.
Worked though, didn't it? Dad was right. Dad's always right.
Well, I said, Dad, you're just not listening to me. And that's when he said, well, you want to be open to my suggestions or do you want to give up?
Classic.
So when I got ibuprofen and it turns out, I had that. And then I had like Gloucester rugby player turn up and support me through that and tell me about all the plus side of what I was doing, and then you just find more within yourself.
There's always a little bit more. It's amazing. Should we go on to our quick 5 questions, Eddie?
The
I think there's 5.
deep bit of this podcast.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I've thought long and hard about these.
It's weird. I'm starting to do little mini squats in preparation.
Ooh, what a thorough warm-up is always good. No one wants to pull a hammy.
Yeah, your one superpower.
That I can keep going.
Just incredible endurance forever.
Like I would like to say that I will just keep going no matter what. I mean, yeah, I'm just.
But isn't the bit where you sit down with the cup of tea and the bit of butter and tin fish like the best bit of an adventure? I've ruined your superpower.
You can have two. I don't mind.
I'll take it. I'll have two. Yeah, why not?
All right, then. So you get everything's in your tent. You've got tarantulas, mountain lions, cougars. You can only grab one thing from the tent. What would it be?
Mum's roast dinner.
Oh, there you go. Next one. You're at a service station. Nothing. It's completely empty apart from two drinks. One's a frothy coffee and one's a sparkling water. You can only have one though, not two this time.
I'll go sparkling water.
Yeah, good choice. A refreshment rather than a.
Yeah.
Top wild camping tip.
Top camping. I'm the worst camper ever. I'm like, don't do any. My only tip is don't do anything like how I camp. Yeah, just always find a place to set up your tent where there's a roof and you don't have a wet tent in the morning. Who likes a wet tent in the morning? I mean, nobody.
Nope. Most scary encounter, human or wildlife. Now, this doesn't have to be America. It could be Canada or your cycle trip.
The scariest encounter.
Human or wildlife?
It was a human.
Come on then.
Oh, I have to share what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but you just said human or man.
Sorry.
He was right. It was a poor
Come on, be
question,
specific, Gary. Come on. So it's a human. I got mugged and robbed. So I got beat up. And I was wearing a suit. I was wearing a superhero suit.
We can't
Unbelievable. That's my last question too. I mean, that's a downer for the last question.
That's so sad. Okay, I've got plus sides of the story.
Yeah, go on.
So I got beat up and yeah, got robbed. But then people heard about what happened, and literally Canada like rallied around, and Britain too. And I think in the end it raised about £50,000 or £60,000.
Oh my goodness, mate!
For the charity. So
that is a good end to this.
A bit better. We got there. Oh, yeah.
Brought it up again.
Have you given the suit a little wash since you came back?
No, it's in a bad way.
Is it going to the museum with Caesar?
It's in a frame now, so I proofed it so there's not one single particle of smell can get out.
That sounds like I need to do my running jacket.
I did wonder about your hygiene during these trips as you were going to do these motivational speeches and fundraising events. I was thinking, I hope he's had a shower.
Well, I do rock up. Well, I've actually just gone and got myself a new Adventureman suit, but I do these really posh evening do's in like the suit that looks battered, and I look terrible, you know. I look like I've just come off the adventure, but they seem to love it, and I'll do anything I can not to wear a suit and tie.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah.
Wear the suit. I'd have like 10 of those suits in the cupboard and just rotate, like a party one, a running one, casual, fleecy lined for a cold morning.
Yeah, fleece one. That's a good idea.
I didn't tell you were a mum.
One with the mittens in case you cold hands. Talking about being mum, you've just become a parent. How has that changed your? Well, we all know it changes your life, but has it changed your sort of way that you think about your adventure? Perhaps the way that you sort of look at the world as well.
Yeah, I mean, it has turned my world upside down. Having little Storm, she's 11 months old now, and she's exactly like an adventure. It's just completely and utterly brutal. I'm like, why? Like, why? And she didn't sleep either. And I'm like, I've done the treadmill challenge on those. So I don't need to do this again. And at least the treadmill was 7 days. This was like months on end. It was brutal, but yeah, it's so rich and then rewarding. And it felt like, you know, when a human would take me in on the night, and I feel connected. It's like when I'm with Storm, I've got that 24/7 feeling connected. So, and that's it, yeah, you just can't. It's just amazing. So it's all of it, isn't it? So it's completely changed our world. Anna's an adventurer too. In fact, she's a far better author than I am.
Well, she came up on the Zoom. We were like, "Oh, great! We're going to talk to Anna." Yeah.
She's been using my Zoom account again.
Oh, I've never met Anna. She's going to pop on.
Yeah, no, look, she makes me look like a wussy. So yeah.
Adventureman look like a
honestly, I mean, she done 100 marathons, but she done the whole thing completely barefoot, like no shoes.
Oh.
Yeah, no
swimming shoes for her, Jamie.
No swimming shoes for her. No, that's it. She's like, I don't need swimming shoes. I'll just do it barefoot. You wussy. So she's amazing. So I've found the right one. And
totally. Good luck, Storm, with your future endeavours.
Do you think Storm will ever meet Caesar and go for a little journey together, an adventure?
You know what? I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, now I've always pushed a pram on adventures. You know what? It will probably get to the place where I'll be in the pram and she'll be pushing it.
Oh, it's about to get so good. The first baby is so hard work, but then they, a year and they start babbling and talking, and soon she'll be answering you back and slamming the door and telling you your poopy pants and
can't wait. Thanks for the hope.
Jamie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. If people want to buy your book or perhaps even hire you out, local dinner parties, motivational speaker, where can they find you and where can they buy the book?
So you can buy the book. It's published with Summersdale. You can buy it in bookstores, so Waterstones. If it's not there, they'll order it in. But you can do Amazon, which is like just really easy. It's called Running America, Adventureman Running America. And so if you just Google it, it will all pop up. There's loads of places to buy it. And
any audiobook in the horizon?
Not yet, but I know that's probably really important for all the runners because they're probably runners and audio listeners. Yeah. So I will get there eventually. I think I'm going to do it with my own voice. So it just
yes, you have, because you talk so well.
It needs a bit of a wow, doesn't it?
Some of the stories. Yeah, absolutely. And then for your speaking, sorry, I interrupted you rudely.
No, that's okay. That's really appreciated that you're mentioning it. So if you just go to adventureman.org and you'll see the speaker page from there, just get in touch and
And presumably you do not just like businesses, but schools and
schools, charities and businesses. Yeah.
It's a great follow, actually. YouTube channel, social media, lots of great stuff on there. Check it out. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Jamie, for coming on the podcast. Gary and I we read quite a few books for the podcast, but we WhatsApped probably about that one the most. About, have you got to that bit yet?
Honestly, you two, your energy is just electric. So
electric, Gary.
We've got a meeting with the boss soon, Jamie. I'm writing that down.
Yeah, write it down. Yeah.
And I've got to run. I'm doing a big race this weekend. I'm really nervous. I'm running 100-mile race, and I have no nerves now because I'm like, I've got no Adventureman does that before he has his tin mackerel. So come on, Eddie, suck it up.
I hate to say it though. I mean, I've done, but 100 miles. I mean, it hurts. There ain't no getting away from it. It really, really hurts.
We'll hear all about it next week.
Gary's like, no more.
Well, like I say, you really are making a difference. I really like Superhero, and thanks so much from everyone on the hills, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another great guest, Eddie. What a story. I love the book, and I think it made a pretty good stocking filler this Christmas. What a good guy. I've got a deposit for a house. What am I going to do?
The kids are still awake. Don't say that sort of thing on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, you What a guy. I mean, take a little bit of nugget of Jamie into our everyday life.
I don't want to spoil the book, but how many people would use their deposit on a house to do some life-changing good for others? It's I don't think I would. So yeah, really special guy. Really is a superhero.
As we're a bit short on races, obviously during this winter period, we thought we'd give you a quick heads up for races that if you're planning your calendar, which you should be doing now for 2022, you should almost have it sort of sketched out, because race entries, they sell out fast. So you wanted to talk about this one, Gary, Snowdon Sky Race.
Yeah, I just saw it pop up on Facebook. Their entries go live on entries live now for the Snowdon Sky Race, which is 40k, 10,000 feet, and a 12-hour limit with some grade 1 scrambles. I'm not too familiar with that. What's that like, a grade 1 scramble?
Pretty steep, that. Pretty
Yeah.
steep. You're probably using your hands for that one, Gary. You'd be using your teeth too.
Oh my goodness, I think I'll be pretty stressed out with it. I love the idea of it, how comfortable I would be. I'll be the one that's blocking everybody behind me.
People
I've
sort of
cracked fast.
standing,
Yeah.
waiting.
But that takes place on the 8th of May, 2022. So yeah, you make a good point. If you are thinking about stuff for next year, head over to Apex Running if that sounds like your kind of race. Also, Apex Running 2. We're not being paid by Mike. I just spotted this. The race for the Ultra Trail Snowdonia race series that opens up on Saturday at 10 a.m. too. And I did say on Facebook, maybe familiarize yourself with the entry procedure just so you don't get there and it kind of freaks
Is
you out.
that now linked to UTMB? Is it that race?
Oh yeah, there's quite a few of the Apex. I'm not too sure if all of their races are linked to UTMB or just some of them. Yeah, I'll be lying if I really knew that, but definitely he's got some affiliation with UTMB. Yeah.
So that's going to sell out real quick, I can imagine, because you're going to get international competitors wanting to come. I heard it talked about on the on another trail running podcast. So yeah, if you're interested in getting UTMB points, I don't want to pretend I understand the points and the pebbles. I don't think anybody does. Nobody does. But anyway, if you are interested in doing any of the UTMB races as well, check out your points. They do have an easy system on the webpage where you can go and you can see how many points that you've got. And then it'll tell you what races that you can enter. Registration opens up on January 6th, so you've got a little bit of time to do that and to check out what races you might want to do and have a little feel around. If you've never come over to run in Europe, these are obviously like the biggest races. Personally, to me, there's like better races that are smaller, low key, but for the whole experience of racing, then these are, if you've got the points, you've got the time, and you fancy a mountain adventure, then those UTMB races are, I think, a sort of once in a lifetime opportunity for a lot of people. So heads up. And if anybody's got any races coming up, race directors that they'd like us to give a shout out to enter, let us know, and we'll talk about that over the next coming few weeks.
Yeah. And over to Sedgefield on Saturday. Cross country. It's a big one, actually. Is it the Northerns? So this is 8 mile for the senior men at least. So
oh, that's quite a long way. You're going to go and run that. How are those legs?
No, I'm down to volunteer. But I've had to let Chris, the guy who's organising the event, that, you know, I'm self-isolating again. So if my PCR results are not back in time or I test positive, I might not be able to volunteer. So yeah, hold my breath up. Definitely not racing. So I did deliberately kept well away from that one, even though Justin's down to race, but he's in the same boat as me as far as the kind of PCR tests and that kind of things are concerned. But yeah, everybody racing, no matter where it is on this weekend, good luck. And like I say, the weather in the UK, 5 degrees, cloudy, light winds. So yeah, compared to what we've had, that's pretty good.
Balmy.
Yeah, it's balmy.
Do you want to guess? We play with the kids when we get in the car to do school run. Guess the temperature. Guess the temperature. They have to guess before.
Oh, that's wild. That is.
They're starting to get. Stop it. It is quite wild. They're starting to get quite good at it because if they can't open the car doors because they're frozen, that is a good sign of how cold it is.
You could just get them to lick the car doors. That's
yes, that would be sensible, wouldn't it, Gary? Let's suggest that. So what do you reckon temperature was this morning on my school run for all?
Ooh, it's going to be minus like double digits, isn't it? It's minus 12.
It was
Oh,
-12.
wowzers.
Sometimes, and you know what? The kids, I said, do you want your hats? No, Mum, it's not cold.
Oh, I've tipped my hand now.
No, Mum, it's not
Blimey.
cold. I said, it's -12. That is cold. Nah, it's not cold, Mum. It's not cold, Mum. So off they went. I mean, they do go in full salopettes, coats, gloves, but only because they're not allowed to play in the playground unless they've got their salopettes on, because the teachers get fed up with them with wet pants. But we've had some pretty chilly that school run. If I'm in a rush and I run out and I forget my gloves holding the steering wheel, I have to say a few Hail Marys because it is so cold.
It's not very nice, is it? That first few minutes in the car.
It's so cold. And then we've got a van and they're not very warm. They don't ever, because that's a big volume to sort of heat up. Anyway, that's how crazy my life is. Anyway, what are you doing now? What's the next few weeks look like for you, Gaza?
Well, it's funny. I don't feel like Valencia was like this big target air race. So I'm not kind of yearning this downtime. So I'm ready to go. I've got no DOMs or anything like that. I feel I could run. I'm deliberately not going to run. Definitely give myself a week off. Well, I can't go anywhere. So I'm going to assemble the turbo trainer. And
it's been sitting there for a little while now, so don't be one of those. Don't be a turbo.
Did a rash purchase there, didn't I?
Yeah, rash purchase and then sell it on. I'd like to be seeing you live on it next podcast.
We'll get it. I still need one of those spanners. If I can get a spanner to get
the. Oh, for Lord above! Come on,
nothing planned. I'm going to make my way through lots of Spanish chocolate, which I brought back.
I've eaten this week. Bryn's mum and dad live in Belgium, and whenever they come, they bring us a box.
That's proper chocolate.
Yeah, proper box. We both have our favourites. So she's lovely, Bryn's mum, and she bought me a box of just my favourite in this box. Big box. I mean, big, like a chunk, a hand width, hand length. That's how big the box is. Just a week, Gary. Did it in a week. Pretty proud of that.
Are you a dark chocolate?
Oh no. No, that's stuff you use in cooking. That's disgusting. Why would I eat that?
Fruit and nut, just nuts.
Yeah, so it's like a fruit and nut little. There's a word for it. I don't know what they're called. Oh my god, they're so good. But I had to live. I was like, right, 4 a day. That's all you're allowed, Eddie. That's all you're allowed, because otherwise it's going to get dirty. But I could have easily eaten like 20 a day. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. So you're going to set up your turbo trainer. No. If you're allowed out next week, a little bit of running.
Yeah. But no training really. I kind of scheduled the plan to finish for Lakeland 100. So I've definitely got a few weeks before I need to train again. And that's where we're at. Yeah, nothing. I enjoy this time of year. Like I've said before, I don't see this as it is time off, but I treat it as when you're an all year round athlete, I suppose.
Buff guy like you, Gary.
It's part of it.
Really buff like me, I can take a few weeks down. It doesn't affect abs at all.
I've still got the layer of Stroop waffles, Eddie. But I just think it's all part of it. It gets you ready to go again. If you rush back, then you run the risk maybe of just burning out. So I'm going to enjoy Christmas. But yourself, then, what you got on?
What do you think? Shoot. So yeah, busy. If you're a parent of smaller children, you'll know this next few weeks are hell on earth as the Christmas countdown.
The magical time, Eddie.
The magical time of year that we all love as parents. So we've got that coming up frantically trying to, because we don't have any shops or anything. The kids' presents have to be bought. Like I can't go shopping because where would I, by the time I get to a shop, I'd have to turn around and come back.
Not make them. You could craft them.
Yes, I'm going to craft them out of snow and bring them in, and then they're going to melt, and that will be the happiest Christmas. I don't think I can craft a drone, which is on one
top. Oh wow, a drone!
I mean, come on. I mean, what do you think? Who do you think is it? Like, oh yes, I'll get you a drone, my darling. So I'm busy. Like you said, yeah, total downtime. I'm gonna try and get a bit active because I feel better for doing stuff next week, and it is my last week without the kids until holiday, so we'll take advantage. I'm gonna ski. The lift's open, so I'm gonna cheat ski and just ski on the chairlifts. Enjoy that.
As a resident, can you just use the chairlifts, or
they do like you to have a pass, Gary? Not just but we get very discounted I won't tell you because people that actually pay for their ski pass will be raging.
Okay.
But we have to pay an enormous amount of tax, so don't worry, it probably all equals out.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get this really cheap pass. So yeah, I just have a pass for the season, so I can go whenever I want. And so they're opening everything because we've had so much snow. So I will ski, get my ski legs back, and it's quite ski action is quite good for just like a bit of movement, bit of fresh air, bit of altitude. So I'm gonna have some fun days with some mates skiing and enjoying the snow, and I will do a bit more up skiing. But ski touring to get back into it and just to get a bit of sweat on. And also I've joined our local gym.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm a bit jealous of your buff guns, so I'm gonna give that a little test. I have my own little gym set up, so I normally do like my plyometrics and my weights at home, which works quite well. But I thought maybe for the winter, when I'm not doing quite so much, I'm going to do a lot of volume on my skis, but not quite so much running. And it's like, or if it's like a horrible day, go down the gym and do some heavier weights. So I'm looking forward to putting that into my plan.
But as long as you got guns by February, I'll let you off.
You wait soon. I'm going to be recording this in like just to like this vest top, and you're going to be like, Eddie, my God, all we can
Gun
see.
watch.
No, on a more serious note, it's the perfect time of year if you're looking at introducing strength training and you've not got a big goal for a few months. And I'm going to be putting in some heavy weights. I'm going to be working on my power for that, thinking UTMB, working on my power, working on my foot speed as well, because it's quite a cool gym. It's got all sorts of different stuff. So I'm going to be working on my foot speed and my reaction, like hitting the ground back up for my downhill as well. So I'm going to put a bit of thought into that over the next couple of weeks.
Another layer.
Yeah, I love creating exercises. Like that's, I think, why I love writing clients' plans, because I was like, love writing new sessions and stuff. So I went down to the gym and had a chat with them yesterday, and then I was looking around going, so I could try that. And I can go when it's really quiet, so nobody needs to see me doing ridiculous things. Did
you tell them who you were though? You could get a freebie. Top 5% podcast.
Yeah. I think they know who I am. I think they're like, yeah, pay full price. Yeah, so nothing quiet, more chocolate eating. Let's talk about our Christmas competition. You've got until the 13th of December. There is a Facebook thread. You might have to, I'll try and pin it, but I honestly don't know how to do that. But if you scroll down on our Run to Hills Facebook page, and we'll just have a look if you don't want to enter it. But we've asked you to post your winter running pics. On that post, we've got loads of
a video too, haven't we? We've upped the ante.
2 videos. People are starting to get a little bit it's getting a bit nasty over there. But we're admin, so it gets any nastier, we'll be starting to block people from all the I love all the people are so clever with the wonderful, the light of winter running is amazing, and some hilarious ones. We do
try and find the Facebook group post, because we might miss it if it's not actually in the post. We'll try our best, but sometimes, we do miss things.
So you got to the 13th of December to win yourself a pre-Christmas box of Chia Charge goodies. So go along and enter that. All right, Gaza, good luck with your recovery. Take it easy. Let's hope that, there's no positive test results and you're free to roam once more in your natural habitat. If you like the show, please share, subscribe and follow. That was episode 67. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Chia Charge for sponsoring the show. I'm Eddie Sutton.
And I'm Gary Thwaites.
And let's run to the hills.